Declan Rice is back in the headlines. He was out and then just as quick he was all the way back in again. It's been a story of a liked tweet today and then I've just discovered he's unliked the tweet again. So feeling pretty dismayed about all of that. We're going to pick the bones of that with John Giles as always. Of course on a Thursday night, a busy week of Champions League football too, so we'll get John's thoughts on all of that. Neil Tracy's been down to Ardskol Reach in Limerick where he's been in the company as the celebrations of course begin to simmer down ever so slightly, but in the company of Shane Dowling and the Casey brothers, Peter and Mike as well, so that coming your way after 8 o'clock, as will be Jeff Perlman, who's written some fairly sensational books about US sports. The latest is a pick through an interesting time in the life of American football, the rise and then demise of USFL, a supposed competitor for the NFL that never really quite cut it. Dan McDonnell is in the house and he's going to take the reins for the football show. We'll mull over Martin O'Neill's press conference today, and Gary Breen will be on the line to discuss the week's football, and potentially Declan Rice may feature.
I think he might come up, Adrian. He might feature in the news of the day. The old Ireland squad announcements, yeah, they're.
I mean, never a dull day.
They've become these massive events. You can have your events in Vegas and all this stuff. I mean, the Irish squad announcements is
that's where it's at.
It's the new way in, you know. Yeah, it's. I don't know. Like, what do we need to like? Draw up a measure or a barometer for what constitutes the use of the word saga? Like how many?
This is a saga.
We've got this. Grealish was a saga.
Yeah.
Stephen Ireland probably a saga. You know, maybe you have lesser ones that didn't quite get to that level. You know, but this is getting there now, and yeah, it's pretty draining, I think, for all concerned.
Can I say I'm quite entertained by it? Like happily sort of entertained by it.
But we can judge you accordingly.
I know. Look, I appreciate that, and I mean,
you've sort of half given up. You know, I mean, given up maybe is the wrong term, but I mean, is that because you've come to terms with the fact that there is a view that people think, well, Bryce is just gone and that's it?
A few things I played on. Sitting around the office earlier on, and Sky Sports ticker was on in the background, and it flashed up that Declan Rice had in fact chosen England, and this was communicated to the entire office. And I found that there was definitely an initial disappointment where it was very much a case of, well, that's a shame. And then very quickly I thought, well, look, I'd better park this and sort of move on with life. And then very quickly it became apparent that actually that was not true, and that he might have a favouring for England according to a Sky Sports source. And then I kind of thought, oof, I'm back in again, there's a bit of hope here. And then as the afternoon unfolded, there was a tweet sent by the FAI which said, Martin O'Neill, I've spoken to Declan and the family. They want a little bit more time to make up his mind. He hasn't made a decision yet. I am hopeful. #Coybig. This was liked by several hundred people, one of whom was Declan Rice. And then suddenly I thought, well, actually, no, there is tangible reason for hope here. And then he's unliked the tweet again, which you've just told me later before we came on air, and I'm feeling rather deflated by the whole thing.
Well, I mean, the question is like how serious was the like in the first place? Like we've all accidentally like sat on our phone or like pocket called someone.
Well,
I mean, he probably follows
Julian Lescott. I mean, famously sent a full tweet of a picture of his new car, didn't he, a couple of years ago?
That was particularly unfortunate.
Yeah, very unfortunate.
That was. I mean, it wasn't just Twitter. Like he managed to simultaneously own his camera and everything at the same time.
The day after they'd been beaten 5-0.
Like that, it was a lot of whole load of apps came together in one wonderful fusion there. That was particularly harsh. Yeah, I mean, it is a sort of a curious tale, and we are sort of reduced to sort of refreshing to see, you know, what this young lad over in London might do on his Twitter account, and then does this mean something? Like we had something recently where I think he liked something related to Ronan Curtis, so Portsmouth, maybe a post that Ronan Curtis had put up.
No, he'd replied, I think, and tweeted Ronan Curtis.
He actually said, it's, you know, look, I've given him a sort of a big shout out, and I think there was a feeling that, oh, well, what does this mean? I mean, it might just mean nothing. You know, it might just mean that he's a young lad on his phone who's not thinking that his actions are now being interpreted by a nation.
We once got a shamrock emoji from Jack Grealish as well, we should remind ourselves.
Yeah, no, the Grealish one. But I think, was there a point as well where Grealish subtly removed, I think he might have described himself as like Ireland international, or there was a picture of him in an Ireland jersey, and then it went to Aston Villa.
When's the appropriate time to remove that from your profile description? I don't know. Look, I mean,
what do we make of it?
We're sitting here picking over Declan Rice sort of liking a tweet and then unliking it. And I am absolutely entertained by it. I'll make no bones about that. I have some feeling for a young guy, I'd say, who must be, to be fair to him, this must be difficult for him. Yeah, the only thing I'm coming round to on that is, I think, you know, the mature thing naturally is to like give him time to make his decision, and that's what everyone says. But it's also clear as well that there's clearly people
in his life who aren't adhering to that. If there is sort of, leaked information coming out from somewhere claiming that he's leaning in a particular way, which has been coming out for the past week from England. So I don't think that stuff's been manufactured out of nothing either. So it's clear that someone along the way is adding fuel to the fire in some shape or form, and that's so. As a nation, we're sort of wondering, well, yeah, we need to get over ourselves and stop putting pressure. And of course, there's people giving them abuse on Twitter and stuff, which is, doesn't serve any purpose. But at the same time, I mean, it's not as if there's been complete silence from his camp. If we're taking some of this stuff that's coming out from the Sky side and from English papers more so earlier in the week very seriously. Now, some of the stuff in the English papers earlier in the week seems to be coming from the English FA's confidence, from maybe the English management team having gone to watch them, and it might just be they were having discussions with people at West Ham, and that's how it. So it may not be that anyone has breached Rice's confidence at all to a point. But so there is that factor just to consider as well, that it's not as if we've had complete radio silence and we have no indication about what way Rice is feeling. We're getting that way because there's, today was accelerated by stuff that came out clearly from somewhere else, and it's come out from the English neck of the woods. And I mean, we had a situation today where Martin O'Neill has conducted a press conference at 11 o'clock. He's finished his press duties around 12 o'clock, and during that exact period a story has come out that really succeeds in sort of undermining him to an extent.
Contradicts what he's said.
Contradicts what he's saying, and you can just say it was a coincidence, and maybe it is a complete coincidence, but it was slightly sort of damaging maybe, and that's possibly why you felt the need to address it then.
We're going to play some of that sort of doorstepping reaction to Martin O'Neill after that in just a second. I sort of feel a little bit also like the kind of, early 40s man or woman who's started to do a bit of courting and things are going along sort of very nicely, and I've put a lot of my eggs in this basket, and then suddenly it's the other half has decided that actually this isn't for me, and there's a possibility now I'm going to get left on the shelf.
What a very specific analogy.
Why'd you go for early 40s?
Because, I mean, you're at that age where it's sort of,
it
really should be settling down. I mean, it is too late for me, Richie, you do appreciate this. But you should be kind of you're getting into that sort of must settle down, sort of, have kids and that sort of stuff. And I'm very invested in this working out. I mean, from an Irish point of view, we're very invested in this working out because we ain't got a lot else going on.
Well, that is the problem. I mean, I wish we had more stuff to talk about, and that's the.
I mean, more as a footballing nation, we don't have much else going on.
Yeah, well, that is the problem. I mean, if we have 7 other 19-year-olds in the squad playing Premier League football,
wouldn't be worried about this guy.
We'd be worried enough. But then, for hope, for encouragement, we will have a look and see how those lads are doing. Like England named the squad today. Gareth Southgate spoke. I mean, as far as I know, Southgate had a new contract announcement. But I get the impression that Rice didn't really come up that much across their gig today. They're more so talking about Jadon Sancho at Dortmund. Yeah, I think TalkSport are the only ones who did. Sancho at Dortmund, the profile of their squad generally is quite young. So they have a lot of other players that, the news agenda moves on. I mean, Grealish fascinated everyone for a time on both sides of the water, and then the story moved on for a while, and we were still looking at our old our old text messages, but he was gone. And in England, they weren't that arse. Now, I think Grealish will play for them eventually, but I'm just saying that, the problem is that we don't have enough to energise ourselves with at the moment with regard to like players of Declan Rice's calibre, and that's why we are so hung up, and that's why we probably still have to keep making the effort, even though there would be a view out there, I know, amongst people that we should just let it go now because he's spurned us in their eyes a couple of times. But
he's our last hope, Dan. We've sent him the text, we've sent him the listen.
He's got the red report.
I think I might be in love.
The blue ticks and the
blue ticks have come up
on the WhatsApp. That's particularly.
He's been
damaging.
Online in the last few minutes, and he's not. He's not.
He's ignoring you, Adrian.
That's the real killer.
He's ignoring you.
Yeah.
Reach out.
Last seen 1 minute ago.
Reach out to me.
Yeah.
Dan, you're welcome to the show, by the way. Now I appreciate that's about 10 minutes late. But Richie, you are also welcome to the show. You're on every night.
Thank you very much, Adrian.
And lots of good stuff to come. We did want to play this at the very top of the show in case you've missed it today, because it was in all of this maelstrom the highlight of my day, I have to admit. There was a lot of young men there. Young Dan McDonnell was there, young Philip Quinn was there, young Paul Lennon was there, and a cohort of other Irish media were there. But I think the key man in all of this, let's face it, was Sky Sports' Guy Havord, and this was in conversation with Martin O'Neill a bit earlier today.
Young man, I think you should. You're in contact with your group. You should know.
Yeah, I knew nothing about it.
Did you not?
No.
You didn't know anything about it.
No, I didn't know anything.
Oh, remarkable! And you're on the show.
I can show you. I got an email at about 13 minutes to 12, I think. So 15 minutes after you finished the press conference.
Okay, so what has been said then?
What has been said is that papers have been prepared, and that.
And where's this coming from? Is it coming from the FAI?
Well,
not from the FAI, but from the FA?
I don't know where it's coming from. Our reporter Rob Dorset is the one who broke out.
You'll understand then, until you get the story, then I can't really comment on it. You know, all I can do is reiterate what I've said in the room for the last hour. You know, and what I said to you was exactly how I felt about it, and that's until Guy and his crew get it sorted out, then I have to say the same. You know?
Martin, I was thinking you'll go and talk to Declan this afternoon or his family.
If Guy gets the story, you know, I should put the pressure onto this young man, you know, because it's his mob that are running it, you know. So at the end of the day, get the story out, get it correct. Okay.
Get it correct. You don't think it is correct, then, as far as you're concerned? You don't think the story is correct?
I would be a bit surprised at this minute. I'd be surprised. Okay.
At this minute?
I'd be surprised. Nothing surprises me in this life, but I'd be a bit surprised at their particular story. Okay.
Martin O'Neill interviewing the guy from Sky Sports was absolutely the highlight of my day today. That was tremendous.
Well, I was standing in that huddle, yeah. I mean, the context of that, and we've sort of touched on it before, was that Martin O'Neill had been in a separate room where he does interviews with the daily newspaper journalists and then the Sunday newspaper journalists, and went on for quite some time. And when we came out after the daily newspaper interviews, we then heard, oh Lord, like this Declan Rice story has come out and everything we've just spoken about might be rendered redundant, because there was some good stuff from Martin O'Neill and it will be in the papers tomorrow, and it's still interesting and still very topical, just about, you know, his views and his reasons for being hopeful, shall we say. And then we think, well, now this is all done. So we're sitting there waiting for Martin O'Neill to finish his Sunday interview, which is a smaller group, and suddenly Sky, RTE and the rest of us realise we can't let him go without making a comment on this story, which is now, as I said, everything before now could be obsolete if this story was to be followed by Rice an hour later, as we thought at the time, almost saying, yeah, I've made my decision.
I mean, yeah.
So we decided we had to wait and get him, and there was a bit of to and fro, and would he speak or would he not? In fairness, I think he actually was happy enough to speak in a way to give the update, but I guess, yeah, guy from Sky, who's actually only been on the beat he's only been doing Ireland for the last 2 games.
Oh, he was a reluctant participant in that exchange.
But I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure.
I thought he was. Oh shit!
I'm not sure. Yeah,
because he was not to the fore in the initial questioning.
Well, I think
then suddenly the seas parted and O'Neill made a beeline.
Well, I don't know. I think it might have been the Sky cameraman who flicked the camera to him. They were probably sensing, and Sky were playing the exchange with their man all afternoon.
Of course they were. Yeah.
They cut out the first minute and a half of the clip. You know,
international manager interviews one of our guys. It was sensational.
It was our story. It was our story. Even if the story might have to be changed several times across the day, it was our story nonetheless that caused this exchange.
A few texts coming in, and we want to hear from you as well. Lads, do you realise how utterly pathetic this trawling of social media makes people look? Is this really where we've got to? The lad proudly liked the tweet till his agent told him to unlike it. As for the Brains Trust giving him grief on Twitter, my God, what is wrong with these idiots, says TC in Dublin. And one more, his actions are being interpreted by a nation, question mark, insert expletive here, F me pink. Hyperbolic much. 80 to 9% of the nation couldn't give 2 hoots about Declan Rice. The remainder will be over in 30 seconds if he declares for England. Less than 1%, and this is a scientific fact.
Some good maths here.
From Bart here. Less than 1% of the nation will dwell on it for longer than 5 minutes. I mean, there's a qualitative piece of research.
Yeah, maybe not the nation. I wasn't suggesting maybe that, you know, people on the streets of all around Ireland were sort of looking at their phones or talking in hushed tones about it. I think in terms of maybe within the Irish football fraternity.
People are exercised about it.
No, I think they are anyway.
Let us talk about it. It's fine.
But I mean,
express ourselves.
there's scientific facts and stats of like clicks and hits on stories about this today, which I've seen, and people are energised by it. They are out there.
True.
But I do also, as I said, I do also agree that some of the, having to look at his Twitter to see what he's up to it's pretty depressing as well.
I think it's fantastic. The Newsround is brought to you this evening with Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products. And Richie is going to kick us off with, I don't know what you got, Richie.
Where do we go from there? No Declan Rice, as we've heard, but Harry Arter was among the 32 names revealed by Martin O'Neill today for this month's Nations League games with both Wales and Denmark. O'Neill says Arter and his assistant boss Roy Keane have patched up their differences.
Roy and he have had a conversation, and Harry is pretty happy. He wants to be in the squad and he wants to play and he wants to put it behind him, and I think Roy does as well too. I think the very fact that Harry's now back in the squad, wants to play, wants to be, and I think Harry is, I think we've all learned something from it as well too. I think the conversation with the two of them went excellently, and I think that a couple of things were I think they put it right, and I'm delighted that that's the case, and also obviously happy that Harry's coming back into the squad again.
James McLean, Sean Maguire, Shane Long, Scott Hogan and Alan Brown all returned to the squad, having missed last month's games through injury. Meanwhile, Richie Tell, currently on loan at Rotherham, earns a call up to the senior squad. Seamus Coleman, John Walters and Stephen Ward, though, all miss out through injury. There's no Robbie Brady either. The Burnley winger was poised to return to club action last week after 9 months out with a serious knee injury, but as his manager Sean Dyche explained today, he's still working his way back to full fitness.
No, he's missed a few days. He won't go away. He's got a niggly hamstring. It's often the case when you've had a long-term injury, all these little niggles, nothing too serious, but it's 4 days here, 5 days there, and there's been a few weeks of that. So we're hoping over this international break that he gets back to, sort of a clean bill of health and day after day's training, because he just keeps dropping down with a few things. Nothing major, but just niggly little things. So we're hoping this international break will get him back to where we want him to be.
Yeah, another one we could definitely do with being back in the mix. All this week, by the way, we've teamed up with Virgin Media Sport, the new home of European football in Ireland, to give away a brilliant prize. Our nightly winner is going to win themselves a €50 one-for-all voucher and go into the end of week draw to win a trip for two to go and see Liverpool versus Napoli in the Champions League on Tuesday the 11th of December. We'll also throw in €200 spending money to be in with a chance of winning. Just identify our Europa League mystery voice, who, while playing the piano, told us that he still suffers from the lingering after effects of an atomic wedgie he received from former teammate Dennis Wise.
Over time, that does ease slightly.
Oof, sounds
over time, that does ease slightly.
It's the sexy music behind it. It's quite
Text your name and your answer to 53106, and if you do win, you must be able to travel from Dublin Tuesday morning and return on Wednesday. It's all with thanks to Virgin Media Sport, with more than 400 UEFA Champions League, Europa League and Nations League games live this season. Virgin Media Sport is exclusive to all Virgin Media TV customers, who can also download the TV Anywhere app and stream all the action whenever and wherever they like.
Peter Keane is set to be appointed as the new Kerry senior football manager on a 2-year deal. The double minor All-Ireland winning boss will be confirmed as Eamon Fitzmaurice's successor at a meeting of the county board in Tralee on Monday. Keane could be joined in his management team by one of his rivals for the senior post. That's Maurice Fitzgerald. Tommy Griffin and Donny Buckley are the other names in the frame for backroom positions. Elsewhere, James Horan is set to be ratified for a second spell in charge of Mayo tonight. They're just past the hour mark, around 23 minutes to go in the early kickoffs in the Europa League this evening. 4 British sides in action, Celtic among them. They were 1-0 up away to Red Bull Salzburg at the break through an Odsonne Edouard goal inside 2 minutes. But goals capitalising on some pretty poor defending from Israeli international Munas Dabur and Japanese striker Takumi Minamono have seen Salzburg take the lead in that one. Elsewhere in Group B, Red Bull Leipzig are 3-0 up away to Rosenborg. In Group E in Azerbaijan, Arsenal are 2-0 up away to Karabakh. The goals there coming from Emil Smith-Rowe, the teenager who's just been replaced by Mesut Ozil, and the opener from Socrates Papastatopoulos, giving Unai Emery's side a comfortable lead there.
Really impressive.
Yeah.
Thank
Did you just sort of...
No. Been working on it all afternoon.
No, it's good. To be fair, it looks actually quite accurate.
I heard him practicing something in the bathroom for ages. That's what it was.
Me. Elsewhere in that group this evening, Vorskla of Ukraine are leading Sporting by a goal to nil. As I say, about 20 minutes to go in each of those games. Rangers looking to build on their creditable opening night draw with Villarreal when Rapid Vienna pitch up at Ibrox in Group G at 8. In Group L, Chelsea welcome Hungarian champions Vidi to Stamford Bridge. That also has an 8 o'clock start. Ryan Giggs made 2 changes to a 25-man squad for games against Spain and indeed the Republic of Ireland this month. Despite missing Real Madrid's Champions League match on Tuesday through injury, Gareth Bale is included, but Derby's Joe Ledley and Tom Lockyer of Bristol Rovers miss out through injury. Cardiff's Jazz Richards and Leicester's George Thomas, on loan at Scunthorpe at the moment, are brought in. Wales play Spain in a friendly next week and then travel on to Dublin. Well, Cristiano Ronaldo has been left out of the Portugal squad for the upcoming internationals against Poland and Scotland. It's reported the Portugal record goal scorer made the request last week to sit those games out. The Juventus forward's decision comes as he fights rape allegations in the United States. One add-on to that as well this evening, and Nike have told the Associated Press that it is, quote, deeply concerned by the disturbing allegations facing Cristiano Ronaldo. Both Padraig Harrington and Paul McGinley are just a shot off the lead following the opening day of golf's Alfred Dunhill Links Championships. They're both 3 under par. They shot rounds of 69 and both were at Kingsbarns today. Australia's Marcus Fraser and England's Matt Wallace are the joint leaders on 4 under. Shane Lowry, for his part, is level. Michael Hoey and Robin Dawson are both 2 over. They shot rounds of 74 at St Andrews today. Graham McDowell and Paul Dunn are 5 over and 6 over respectively. They were amongst the contingent at Kingsbarns.
Text in here for you, Dan. This is about the Harry Arter story, which to be fair has probably gone under the radar a little bit actually in the context of everything else that's happened. But this texter wonders who holds the journalist to account for getting the Arter story so wrong.
Which is what?
I mean, I'm assuming they're insinuating that there was some sort of a line out there that Arter wasn't coming back. I mean,
yeah, there's definitely a feeling out there, right? Yeah, that seems to be the case. But,
are you refusing to engage with this anonymous texter who might be JP, but I actually don't think it is?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a strange situation, all right. But I think we'll
all right.
Hearing in due course.
In due course is in the morning?
No. To be honest, the Harry Arter thing has just flown completely under the radar.
It has, isn't it?
It sort of really has.
Does it reflect, like, it probably reflects, I mean, it reflects quite well on Martin O'Neill and Roy Keane that they've, presumably sat down with this guy and said, look, I'm assuming now here in the absence of any actual detail about it, there had to have been some sort of a conversation to get him back in.
Yeah, there's like the exact details of the discussions are unclear, but it was suggested that they've spoken. I think I'm not sure, there was a question put in today to suggest had an apology been made from Roy Keane to Arter, and I'm not sure if that answer was sort of passed over, and I'm not sure if we're going to hear from Roy Keane in the next while. So I suppose maybe the thing will, the next time Harry Arter maybe is speaking, we might get a bit more detail on some of the, how it all was resolved in the end, I guess. But it all got a bit lost today. A lot of things got lost today. I mean, on another day, Seamus Coleman being out of 2 big games, would be the main story and the main talking point, and it is a massive blow, but that's just been lost in everything else that's going on. Yeah, all right, rugby, Richie? Yeah, Rory Best and Jacob Stockdale will make their first appearances of the season for Ulster in tomorrow night's Pro 14 meeting with Connacht at Kingspan Ravenhill. Ian Henderson has come through the return to play protocols, and he'll take his place in the second row alongside Alan O'Connor. Captain Jared Butler has returned to the Connacht back row, one of 4 changes made by Andy Friend to his side. Academy player Paul Boyle is named alongside Butler at number 8. The other change to the pack sees Tom McCartney replace the injured Dave Heffernan at hooker, while Matt Healy returns from injury to take his place on the wing. Meanwhile, Connacht have confirmed they will no longer proceed with the deal to sign Sevu Rees. The Fijian-born wing was discharged without conviction despite assaulting his girlfriend. Rees was due to join Connacht from Waikato, and at 21 was seen as a potential future Ireland international. Interim president of the International Boxing Association, Gafur Rakhimov, Olympic Games in Buenos Aires. The IOC committee says it's maintained its freeze on all contacts with AIBA except at working level. Relationships between the IOC and AIBA are at an all-time low, with boxing facing the prospect of being frozen out of Tokyo 2020 if Rakhimov is formally appointed. The IOC have suggested that boxing could only be part of the Olympics of 2020 if it distanced itself from the current heads of AIBA. Olympic chiefs did vow yesterday, though, to do its utmost to ensure that athletes do not have to suffer under these circumstances and will protect their Olympic dream. Celtic have just fallen 3-1 behind. Salzburg have just scored a penalty.
We're celebrating the return of the Heineken Champions Cup with a very special show live from the University Concert Hall, Limerick, next Thursday. That's the 11th of October. It's all in association with Heineken Rugby Club, and it is a very special sit-down with one of Munster, Ireland and our Canterbury Crusaders' favourite sons, Ronan O'Gara. He's going to be alongside Brian O'Driscoll, Keith Wood and our very own Nathan Murphy. We had released some extra tickets after it had sold out initially, but they now too are gone. So you can listen into Off the Ball this weekend for your chance to win a pair of VIP tickets. They are the only tickets left in town. You're going to get the best seats in the house, however, if you do manage to land a pair of those, and a meet and greet as well with Ronan, Keith and Brian. Probably Nathan not so much. Bear in mind it is an over 18s event. Visit drinkaware.ie. It's the latest Off the Ball roadshow in association with Heineken Rugby Club. A couple of last stories, Richie?
The British government has accused the Russian military intelligence service of being responsible for the Fancy Bear cyber attack on the World Anti-Doping Agency. The confidential medical data of several athletes was published in September of 2016, but Russia has denied any official involvement. However, UK authorities now claim Russia were behind the WADA attack, as well as others against Russian and Ukrainian companies, the Democratic Party in the United States and an unnamed UK TV station. Separately, 7 Russian nationals have been charged in the US, having been accused of hacking computers associated with 250 athletes and anti-doping sports organisations in the US and around the world. While Liverpool have confirmed that Naby Keita is fine after being taken to hospital for assessment on a back injury, the midfielder suffered the problem during last night's 1-0 Champions League defeat away to Napoli. Keita is travelling back from Italy with the rest of the squad today. He hasn't been ruled out of Sunday's Premier League game with Manchester City, which is one of 2 games live on Sunday's Off the Ball.
Grand stuff. Thanks, Richie. John Giles is in the house. He's almost ready to go. Dan, you're going away to sort of prep yourself and get the massage and shoulder rub ahead of...
I'm not administering that.
9 o'clock kick-off.
No, we'll see what happens, yeah.
Pumped?
Yeah, we'll hear what Gary Breen's got to say about the events of the day.
Did you take any sort of hints from Martin O'Neill's interviewing style a bit earlier today? Was that... something I could work with?
Yeah, I'm not sure. More accusatory tone. I'm not sure if that's necessarily the way to go.
Dan is in the hot seat. He might be able to speak.
Do you want to do that one live?
We'll go again. Dan is in the hot seat from 9 o'clock with the football show. But Dan, thanks a million for the minute. Richie, thank you for that. John Giles is up next. We're going to talk Declan Rice. We'll talk Harry Arter. We'll talk Liverpool, Manchester United and City as well. Get your questions in for him. We're back with John after these.
Off the Ball on News Talk.
Thanks to Screwfix.ie. Championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products.
Bobby's Late Breakfast.
Bobby's Late Breakfast is taking to the road and we're on the food trail. To celebrate the Blas na Hern Food Awards, we're broadcasting from the Dingle Skellig Hotel on Sunday the 7th of October. Dingle will be awash with some of the winning food producers and chefs. We'll be chatting to some well-known Kerry people like Michael Healy-Rae,